for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est Canadiens qui complète le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for watching on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter Live over the next couple of months. Abbreviated versions of the Sick Podcast, shorter than usual, as we told you during the summer months. Brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, once again recognized as one of Canada's top fleet employers for the fourth consecutive year. The prestigious accolade underscores their steadfast dedication to fostering a workplace of excellence and opportunity, much in part to their exceptional team for their unwavering commitment and contribution. Energy Transportation Group is a top fleet employer. Also brought to you by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the hot summer days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing, and we'll give a shout out to Playground and Betway, and I'll talk to you about them in just a couple of minutes. But without further ado, one of the things I've been thinking about over the last little while, we're almost 2 weeks removed from the 2024 NHL draft, of course, which took place in Las Vegas on the Friday round 1 and on the Saturday rounds 2 to 7. So almost 2 weeks ago. And there's so much that goes into scouting and so much that goes into the draft. So I wanted to see if I can give you a sneak peek into it and all the work that's involved and maybe bring up a couple of crazy stories from the past or two. Without further ado, why don't I do that right now? I bring in former Anaheim Ducks scout Alain Chainey. Comment ça va? How are you?
Very good, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's me that thanks you very much because how much respect I have for you. So for you to come on the podcast, I think it's an honor. So thank you. Alain, how long were you a scout for the Ducks again? Please remind me.
20 years. And wow. 11 years as the chief scout of the organization. I've been there 20 years.
I got to tell you, and you would know better than I would, obviously, because you were in there and you lived it. But from the outside, I would think that the job of a scout, with all due respect to all the other positions in all of hockey, whether you're a president, whether you're a vice president, whether you're a GM, whether you're a coach, and for sure, each one has its own element of stress and pressure. But the job of the amateur scout, for me, has to be probably the toughest one because you're in a world of unknown, and a lot of what you're doing is projecting. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right, Tony. It's a real tough job. You have to travel all over the world during almost 11 months. And like my GM used to say, it's a very easy job, Alain. Just draft the right guy. But it's not that the way it goes all the time.
Yeah.
So you have to see a lot of players. We have a lot of scouts in the organization, meetings 3-4 times a year. And obviously you have to put a list together. Sometimes it's very, very difficult. We have very good draft. We have also bad draft, which is very difficult to get the best players available. It's a real tough job, absolutely. And like you said, it's one of the toughest jobs in the business right now.
I just talked about projecting, right? Projecting, not looking at who's the best right now at age 17, but projecting who's going to be the best 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line, their NHL career. Who is the one that's going to end up having the best career? That is such a tough thing to do. Between you and I, did it ever happen where you go into a draft year once or twice or 3 times or more where you all look at each other and there's a little bit of confusion or a little bit of difficulty in trying to project that you probably got to just look at each other and say, listen, who's the best one right now? Have you ever gone with that? Or talk to me about taking the best one right away over projecting who will be the best one and who will have the best career?
The best projection that we're doing on the player, the best draft you're going to have. It's always very difficult. The Anaheim, for example, you want to draft like players with high skill level, and sometimes it's very difficult. There's some draft, like after player number 15, for example, from 16 to 30, there's not too many players left in the draft with high skill level. So it's very difficult. But as a team of scouts, you have to understand that you have to have a consensus most of the time. Sometimes it's very, very difficult, but the projection, like you said, is very, very much important. If you project a player to be a top 6 forward in the NHL, or top 4 defenseman, or top 2 defenseman, or a top goalie, and for example, at the end of the day, it's just a 4th-line player, well, there's something wrong. That means your organization will be hurt by that kind of projection because you didn't project the player correctly, and that's very, very difficult. But sometimes it's easy because there's many players in the draft. Like this year, for example, it was a very good year because a lot of good players with a lot of talent in the draft. So even at 20, 22, 23, the teams, they were able to draft a player with a lot of talent. Sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you're going to end up at the end of the first round, and you're going to have to draft a player who's going to be only a 3rd-line player in the first round. So that's happened sometimes.
What are some of the things that you and your staff looked at when you were working with the Anaheim Ducks as a scout and chief scout? What are some of the things you were looking at when projecting?
To me, was the hockey sense is very much important. Like, you can't take a player who's a great skater, but if he doesn't have a good hockey sense, he will end up nowhere in the NHL. Sometimes you're a great skater, but you don't know what to do with the puck. You don't have a very good vision. You're not very creative with the puck. So if you want to draft a top 6 forward in the NHL, first of all, for us was hockey sense first. Even if you're not a great skater, if you can compensate being, for example, having great hands, a great hockey sense, a lot of creativity, you're going to have a chance to be a hell of a player in the NHL.
Yeah, you're right about that, because let's just say you don't have the foot speed and you're not going to get there before the other guy. If you know where the puck's going to be before the other guy, you will get there before because of the hockey sense. But correct me if I'm wrong, and this has been an ongoing debate that I've had with several friends. There are several that believe that hockey sense is something that you're born with, and there are others that believe that a good coach, like a good teacher in school, can give tips to improve the hockey sense the way a good teacher can give tips for you to be better in math, for example. Do you believe that a good coach can help? I'm not saying that it will be an automatic and a player will have great hockey sense, but do you believe that a great coach can help a player's hockey sense?
Yes, it can help in one way, because the young players, when they arrive, like, for example, major, junior, you see those guys playing a regular base. And sometimes when you're very, very young, you're nervous with the puck and you get rid of it without looking around. But when you have more maturity in the game, you're getting 18 years old or 19 years old, now you have more confidence in yourself, and you're going to take time to take a look around. And the coach can help a young player to say, don't panic with the puck. Take your time with it. And with maturity, then you see the hockey sense will improve. But to say like the hockey sense, you're born with it, I mean, it's to me, yes, it is. But you can also have help from your coach. It's just a question of maturity with the puck and to make the right decisions with the puck and without the puck also defensively.
Alain, everyone knows that the Anaheim Ducks over the last couple of decades have had some very, very good draft years. Everyone remembers, of course, the 2003 draft when Anaheim drafted Ryan Getzlaf with the 19th pick and drafted Corey Perry with the 28th pick. But there have been other drafts and there have been other picks. When did you start with the Anaheim Ducks? And once again, can you refresh our memory some of the players that have been drafted by Anaheim in the last couple of decades?
We can see that Perry and Getzlaf were a special case in 2003. But right now, Martin Madden Jr. is the head scout in Anaheim. He's doing a hell of a job with the scouts that they have over there. They were with me at the same time also. It's the same group of scouts.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And
So you started at the same time as Martin Madden Jr. or pretty much?
No, absolutely. I was before Martin.
Yes.
But when I decided to slow down a little bit because of the traveling, after a while you get tired of it.
Of course.
Then I asked my GM. I said, maybe I have a man in mind there that could do a good job for the Ducks to replace me. And I suggested Martin Madden Jr.
Oh,
and
wow.
Martin Madden accepted the job, and since then he's doing a hell of a job.
Look,
to me, he's the best in the business.
You know what? I think you beat me to the punch. I was just going to say that. I take a look at his track record. For me, he's the best. And look, I know the Anaheim Ducks didn't want to lose him, obviously. And I know the Montreal Canadiens wanted to bring in their own people. And the Canadiens have good people working for them. Yeah. But there is no salary cap. This is the beauty of hockey. There is no salary cap on your coaching staff. There's no salary cap on your management team, on your hockey ops, on your front office, unless, of course, there's an internal budget with that the owner sets forward. But if I was the Montreal Canadiens, I would have done absolutely everything in my power to try and sway Martin Madden Jr. to the Montreal Canadiens. And maybe he wouldn't have come, and maybe they're not allowed because it's tampering, because he's under contract and stuff like that. But a former NHL executive told me, Tony, the way that you can do it is that you actually change the title and have a different title than the title that they have. And at that point, you can talk to them about trying to bring them over at a different title. That's one way you can do it. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for Martin Madden Jr. I think he is fantastic at what he does.
Well, absolutely, Tony, you're right. And I know Martin very, very well. Obviously, he's a friend of mine. And what he's doing in Anaheim is absolutely incredible. Year after year, drafting great players. The projection is perfect for them. And he likes to go with the upside, meaning that the player has a chance to get better. When we saw Stafkowski, when the Montreal make a hell of a pick with Stafkowski, all about the upside that he has. And we can see, and we saw it last year with the Montreal Canadiens. He was like at the end of the year, he was probably their best player.
That was your pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You think it would have been Martin Madden Jr.'s pick too?
I think so, because Martin loves the upside of players, and Stafkowski has a big upside, obviously.
And by the way, you take a look at Slavkovsky's frame, a big 6'4", 238 pounds going into his draft year. Obviously, Beckett Seneca is not 238 pounds, but he's actually shot up from 5'10" to about 6'3"3/4.
Yeah.
A skilled right-handed shot, can play wing, either wing, with very soft hands. And there's a lot of upside there. I think the Anaheim Ducks shocked a lot of people with that pick, 3rd overall. Beckett Seneca, that on most people's lists probably was around 9-10, maybe not even in the top 10. But it doesn't sound like you would be surprised knowing Martin Madden Jr., huh?
No, not at all. We gave a chance to Montreal Canadiens to take Demidov. So
yeah,
that was good for the Canadiens.
And listen, how much of Demidov have you seen or have you heard from your friends still in the biz? What can you tell us?
Very high skill level player, a lot of dedication, a lot of character. He can make plays at full speed, very good hockey sense, very creative with the puck. Many people I know, many friends told me that he has a chance to become a real star in the NHL.
That's amazing to hear. I take a look at the Canadiens and I take a look at the Ducks, and I actually see a similarity. And let me explain what it is. Stéphane Pilote said in the last week that the Ducks have a good track record with players out of the queue because Martin Madden Jr. obviously lives in Quebec, and so they scout the area very much. It's almost like they have a certain inside information, maybe more than others, because they scout more of these games than other teams. And I think the Canadiens had a similar situation in Russia, obviously, with Nick Bobrov, their Russian scout, who was able to go to Russia whenever he wants. He has his dad working for SKA, who's able to give him intel on every single player. So, I think the Canadiens are getting information out of Russia as much as Stéphane Pilote and Martin Madden Jr. are getting information out of Quebec.
Well, absolutely, because the Ducks always covered very well the queue. I mean, when I was there as a chief scout, we had a full-time, part-time guy, covering the Quebec League only. And also I was there all the time. And also for the Ducks, I think Martin Madden Sr. is still working for the Ducks as a part-time scout in the Quebec League. So they have 3 guys covering the league. So they don't miss much in the Quebec League, according to the Anaheim Ducks. And it's always been a very important league for them.
Give me and give the viewers watching and everyone listening an idea of a day-to-day responsibilities, duties of a scout, and how many games, how many nights you're in a rink, how many games you're watching, how many kilometers you're putting on that car, how many days off or not you're getting. Obviously, like you said, you did it for a very long time, about 20 years. Talk to us about the day-to-day.
Well, I'll just give you an example, Tony. I've been a scout for the Ducks for 20 years. And during that 20 years period, I was in a hotel room for 5.5 years, full time.
Wow.
So yeah, you have to be on the road. If you want to be a good scout and have a good list, you have to go and see the players play. So you have to travel a lot. And the chief scout travel all over the place, all over the world to find those players. And as a regular scout, also a full-time guy, he has to cross over, going in a Western League, in the NCAA, going in the Ontario League. I mean, you have to travel all the time. It's a real tough job. Never home. I mean, you're home probably only maybe 8-9 days a month, and you're on the road all the time. So it's a tough job. You have to travel in difficult situation, winter time. Like we all know what can happen during winter and the storm and everything. And you travel, and you don't stop. And you're going from an hotel room to another hotel room. And you have to take an airplane almost every day when you travel on a long schedule on the road. So it's a real tough job, but at the same time, I mean, it's fantastic.
A shout out to some of our partners, Playground Experience. Playground's world-renowned poker experience with free food and drinks at their cash game tables, a bad beat jackpot that is over $1.1 million in climbing, weekly promotions, daily tournaments, unmatched customer service. Why play anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground. And also a shout out to Betway, who brought us our NHL draft coverage 2024 out of Las Vegas. Betway is a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old and over and play responsibly. Okay. So over a 20-year span, 5.5 years in a hotel room, at home, probably about 8 or 9 days per month, going from arena to arena, going from city to city, scouting games. When you were scouting, you were that they call them different names for scouts. Back in the day, we used to call them bird dogs, right? Bird dogs.
Yeah.
The eye in the stands. When you're there and you're scouting, and I know you told us before, you put a lot of emphasis on hockey sense. But if I could tell you, like, out of all the characteristics, let's just say there's 5 characteristics, you have hockey sense at number 1. So the first thing that you're looking at or that catches your attention, you, Alain Chainey, is hockey sense number 1. Number 2, what do you have at number 2?
Character, attitude, very much important. Obviously, we see in the NHL, the players are so fast right now. You have to be a very good skater. But for me, if you have a great hockey sense, a lot of character and dedication, even if you're lacking skating a little bit, even if you're lacking skill, you got a chance to be a pretty good player. So the character is very much important. And the players that we miss in Anaheim, for example, we had great draft, and we have draft also that we pick a player that didn't make it in the first round. And we always, after the first year that when it happened, we always have a meeting trying to figure out what happened exactly, why we drafted this kid, and this kid never had a chance to play. And most of the time, the answer was he was lacking character. He was lacking the attitude and the dedication to become a player, even if he had some skills.
What are the signals on the ice? Because off the ice, I think there's certain answers that the players can give you during the interview process where you're able to determine how much character they have or they won't have. But on the ice, what are some of the signals you were looking at and your staff was looking at to determine how much character a player had?
Sometimes the body language on the ice. Sometimes he doesn't act properly arriving to his bench, for example, after a shift. And we can tell. So we have to follow a player when he changes also. What he's doing arriving to his bench. Like some players will will start to argue with the teammates for some reason, and it shows that something wrong. And so we have to be careful about it. And for example, Tony, one of the worst interview that I had in the past was Nikita Filatov. You remember?
Yeah, I remember
he
him.
got drafted 6th overall by Columbus. And it was the worst interview I ever had during a meeting room. He was sitting there, bad body language. First question he asked me, he says, where you guys pick? I said, we picked 12. He started to laugh at us, saying, well, you picked 12. I won't be there at 12. I'm going to go top 5 for sure. Then I explained to him, I said, listen, our GM, he can make a trade and move up in the draft.
Of course.
He was having a real bad attitude. At the end, I said, you know what? We're wasting our time with you. So why don't you go somewhere else?
Really? It could very well be that A, he was just bad, period. B, it could be that he didn't want to go to Anaheim. Is that possible? And
I don't think so. I think he was full of himself. And we could tell. So we told our GM after this interview, we told our GM, we don't want to draft this guy. Even if he's there in the 3rd or 4th round, we don't want to draft him.
Wow.
He won't make the Anaheim Ducks better. And we knew that he would have been drafted in the 1st round pretty early. That's why he went 6th overall by Columbus.
Yeah.
How many games he played? Maybe 20.
All right, so there you have it. You scout your games. You put up all your notes. You upload them. I would imagine to an internal software that you have or whatever. Or you probably have part of the same database. Your scouts do the same. Everyone puts together their notes. This that. How many times do you meet during the season? Is there are there markers during the season where you meet? And I'm sure you all meet at the World Juniors and you follow that and all that stuff and some of the Holinka tournaments and all that stuff. But how many times do you meet before you actually put together your year-end list?
Usually the first time is during the top prospect game that we have a meeting like during the week. And after that, we're going at the end of the year during the combine time where we meet also to prepare our final list. And then before the draft, one more time to make sure to finalize our list and to get the priority together. And that's about it, only 3-4 times a year.
How much emphasis do you put in the combine in terms of physical testing and athleticism?
It's, it's funny because sometimes a player, I saw a player that couldn't lift like 100 pounds, 1 rep when doing the bench press. And he was a hell of a player. He played in the NHL, became a star. So we have to be careful with that. They're very young players, and we have our specialist is over there also for the Anaheim Ducks, and he's able to tell us, listen, this kid, the way he's built, he's got a chance to get bigger and stronger and so forth. And during the interview also, we bring our sports psychologist, and we targeted maybe 10 or 12 players who has a chance to be there for us in the first or second round. And our sports psychologist will get his own interview with them, trying to figure out something and tell us, well, there's some red flags with this kid or this other kid. We want to make sure everything is fine with those guys. But during the physical testing, we can tell also if a kid is battling, like he's showing some dedication, some character. And we can tell during the test what he can do with that, like with his lack of character, or if he gives up too easily, and that's not good. But we can tell also that during the physical testing.
Who had a hard time with the bench press who turned out to be a star?
Oh, my God. He played for Ottawa. He got that car accident, remember, with the Ferrari. Danny Heatley.
Oh, Danny Heatley. Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Danny Heatley couldn't lift 100 pounds on a bench press. Not one repetition.
Wow.
Couldn't do it.
50-goal scorer.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. How did Getzlaf land in your hands at 19? When you go back and you look at that draft, and listen, I hear you. Yeah. Like, that's one of the best drafts in the history of the National Hockey League. To this day, I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury, Eric Stahl, Nathan Horton, Zerdev, Vanek, Mihailik, Suter, Coburn, Phaneuf, Kostitsyn, Carter, Hugh Jessamine never played or only played 2 games in the National Hockey League at 12, but Dustin Brown, Brent Seabrook, Robert Nielsen, Steve Bernier, Zach Parise, Eric Fear, Ryan Getzlaf at 19. After that, Brent Burns went 20 to Minnesota. Kessler went 23 to Vancouver. Richards went 24 to Philadelphia. Corey Perry went 28 to Anaheim. And look, it's funny, but in my opinion, probably the best player to ever come out of that draft, I think Getzlaf is there. I would probably give it to Patrice Bergeron at 45, but you know what? I'd have no problem if anyone says that it would be Getzlaf, because that was an amazing pick. Shea Weber was involved in that draft as well, if memory serves me well. Yes, at 49 to Nashville. So it was a very deep draft. There were so many good players, but how surprised were you that Getzlaf was there for you at 19? And do you remember where you had him on your list?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. We had him 6th overall on our list.
Wow.
We love Aaron Getzlaf. The problem with Getzlaf was not the fact that he didn't have a great upside. It's the fact that some nights he was not showing a lot of intensity. And, and as a group of scouts in Anaheim, most of the time when we saw Getzlaf play, he was outstanding. Yeah, absolutely.
Nonchalant at times. Nonchalant, eh?
Yeah. Looking in the stands, he was like... But as a group of scouts in Anaheim, we've been lucky enough to see Getzlaf play, and he was most of the time very, very good. And when he started he was like 6th overall on our list. Then we arrived at 10, at 12. Our GM asked me, he says, "Alain, does he have a problem?" Getzlaf, does he have a problem? I said, he doesn't have any problem. Well, about what he's doing is something off ice that we don't know. I said, no, everything is fine with Getzlaf. It's just that he's lacking intensity. He's a young guy. He's not very mature at this point, but he's got all the tools in the world to become a hell of a player.
Okay. Does he have a problem? Sometimes there's maybe things that happen 5, 6, 7 years before that you end up finding out, or after you end up picking a player. How far back do you go? Like, I know that you'll speak to their junior coach for sure, or maybe the assistant coach, or maybe the GM, but how far back are you going? Are you getting in touch with friends of the family? Are you? Well,
we can go back to the time he was playing midget, for example, trying to figure out. And we do that for the players in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. We don't do that for all the players in the draft. There's so many of them. We don't have the time to do everything. But the 1st and 2nd round, we go back quite a while. Like, we can go about the midget, talking to the GM, the coach he had, and the major junior, obviously, is very, very important. Colleges also. Try to figure out. But it's rare. You won't see a coach telling bad things about his player. It's really, they don't tell us sometimes I will say the right thing. They're going to say, oh, he's a very good kid. He's a hell of a player. He's going to be great. And we all know there's something wrong because they don't want to put their player down too much.
Yeah.
But we have to trust it. Sometimes the best, for me, for example, when I was going to see a hockey game at the beginning of the season, I was going to meet with the trainer. He's there with them all the time. So you meet with the trainer, he's in the dressing room with the players, and in the bus with the players. And if you ask him a question about a certain player, he knows them very, very well. And if you trust the guy, he will tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah. That year, the Canadiens had the 10th pick overall. You know where I'm going with this. And,
yeah,
they chose Andrei Kostitsyn. And a lot of people said at the time, you're looking at one of the best pure talents in the draft who has an ability to explode. But there were some red flags, and one of which was he suffered from epilepsy. He was under medication, and that, of course, taking the medication can play with your ability to perform on an everyday basis and stuff like that. But I'm curious, do you remember where you had Kostitsyn on your list, and what was your reaction when you saw that he was drafted 10th by the Canadiens?
Well, we didn't want to pick him in the 1st round. Our Russian scout didn't like him. He knew exactly what's going on with Kostitsyn. I saw him play many, many times. He was a star some nights. Some of the nights you couldn't see him. Couldn't find him on the ice. But our Russian scout didn't like him at all. Didn't like him, the old situation, and told us, he says, I won't feel great if we draft him in the 1st round. So we didn't have him in the 1st round. We had him in the 1st round, Tony. But let's say we pick We picked, for example, Gestaff at 19, but we had him at the end of the first round to make sure we didn't have a chance to take him.
I understand. Yeah. I think you may have saw something a day or two before the draft with Kostitsyn. I think that's been talked about, no?
Smoking a little cigarette across the street, so just before the draft. It was not a surprise, but the Russian scout said, "Look, Alain, across the street, what's going on?" He says, "Look, that's Kostitsyn is having a cigarette." I said, "Oh, yeah, that's okay." Corey Perry. Yeah.
You take a look at his career. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's been on as many teams as he's been on that have made it to the Stanley Cup final. The games played in the playoffs are different than the games that are played in the regular season. You have to dig down a lot deeper than you would. You have to dig deeper than you would in the regular season. He is a guy that, for all his faults, because he's got a few, let's be honest, though, a lot of teams would like to have him because he is willing to pay the price. He can get under the skin. He has found a home in front of the net. He can deflect pucks. He can score big goals. Why did he slip? His skating?
Yeah, he couldn't skate. Corey Perry was a bad skater.
They said the same thing about Ryan Stone, though. Eh?
Yeah, from a scale from 1 to 5, for example.
Pardon me, Mark Stone. They said the same thing about Mark Stone. Eh?
Yeah, you're right. From a scale from 1 to 5, he was a 1, a bad skater. But he had very good hands, a lot of character, a lot of dedication, paying the price, like you just said, all the time. And the playoff, he was playing the playoff against Windsor. Tough place, tough arena to play in Windsor. And all the people were trying to, before during the warm-up, they were yelling at him, trying to, and he was looking at them and smiling. At the end of the day, a big game, very important game. I was there with a couple of Anaheim Ducks scouts also, and the game finished 5-2 for London. You have 2+3. Thanks very much, guys.
Wow.
So that's the way he was doing. He's a gamer, Tony. He's a gamer. He'll pay the price. He'll do whatever it takes to be able to help his team. That's what Corey Perry is. That's why we didn't have we had only one first-round pick that year, and we have to make a trade. So we traded our 2 second-round picks to have the late first-round pick of Dallas to get Corey Perry.
Wow. Can you tell me of an example where you put your foot down and said, "Hey, putting my reputation on the line, I really want this guy. We have to have him. I want him," and you drafted him? And on another occasion where you probably did the same thing, but they said, "Sorry, you're not getting your way this time around."
Most of the time, the GM listens to the scouts, and I didn't have any problem. But one time, Tony. One time was with Baron Berkey. I mean, he was the draft of Erik Karlsson. We had Karlsson in the top 10 on our list. Arriving at the draft, we were saying we're going to have a chance to draft Karlsson. It was a consensus in between the scouts. It was a consensus in the group. We were sure about him. He was not very big, 5'10", around 165. And at the table, Barenberg told me, he says, "No, you guys won't draft Erik Karlsson. He's too small. I don't want to draft a small defenseman like that." So we had to move down in the draft, meaning and when Ottawa saw that, they make a trade to move up in the draft to pick Erik Karlsson. So after he won his third Norris Trophy.
Yeah.
Something. So can you imagine?
Alain, I'm willing to bet, but I didn't do it, so I have to ask you, that as you get into the later rounds, and once again, everyone knows the law of averages and the percentages. For the most part, it's the players that are drafted in the first round or the second round that go on to have a longer career in the National Hockey League. And we know that as you go down rounds and rounds, those percentages become lower and lower. Are favors handed out every now and then? Yeah, my friend's son, he's not going to play anyway. So you know what? Let's pick him. He gets the jersey. We'll invite him to camp. And, player we're picking here is not going to make it anyway. Sadif? It happens?
Absolutely. It happens. Yeah. Not too often. Not too often. I'm very happy about that. But I saw that, the GM has in his back pocket a certain name. And arriving, for example, in that ninth round back then, he was giving the name, "Listen, Alain, it would be possible to draft this guy in the ninth round. It would help for the future or whatever." And we had to take him. That's the GM's call. But it didn't happen very, very much.
Okay. All right. Okay. Your thoughts Alain, this has been so much fun. But before we let you go, what the Canadiens are putting together, and I look, I'm really, by the way, I'm really blown away with what Anaheim's putting together. So we talked about Martin Junior, and I think the Anaheim Ducks are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the next decade in the National Hockey League. I wouldn't be surprised if they win a cup or two. At the same time, I think the Canadiens are really trending in the right direction. Jacob Fowler in goal, Lane Hudson, David Reinbacher, Logan Mailloux on defense. I even like Adam Enstrom. You take a look at what they have up top. They had a legitimate number one line, I think, this past season with Suzuki and Caulfield and Slavkowski. Kirby Dach is definitely going to help for sure going forward. All he has to do is stay healthy. The drafting of Ivan Demidov. What do you think of the Canadiens' prospects compared to other teams? And if you have to give them a grade on the report card, what would be the grade?
I mean, they drafted very, very well the past few years, Tony. And let me tell you something. When you draft a lot of talent, you're going to have success. That's what the Montreal Canadiens have done lately. They have drafted a lot of players with a lot of talent, and that's going to help them to become one of the best teams in the NHL one day, and pretty soon.
A lot of people believe that Lane Hudson has superstar potential, especially after the year he had with Boston University. Having said that, he's not a big guy. They're saying he grew to 5'10". He looks more like 5'9". He obviously needs to put on some weight and some muscle and all that stuff. There are some who are worried about his ability to fight off the opposing forwards, clear the front of the net, board battles, and all that stuff. So let me ask you this, though. Were you ever shy from drafting players on the smaller side?
No, absolutely not. Not in the new NHL, Tony. You have to be a great skater. You have to be agile. You have to be, like, for example, Lane Hudson is a fantastic skater. Like, he knows he changed direction so quickly. Great hockey sense, great vision, fabulous passer of the puck. And he won't get any weaker. The only thing he can get is stronger, and he's going to learn the game defensively.
Yeah, but would you put like a certain quota on the amount of players under 6 foot tall? I mean, if there's one thing the playoffs have shown us, it's a grind, to say the least. It's a war of attrition, and the bigger teams usually end up going further in the playoffs. So would you put? I take a look at the Canadiens. As much as I told you that I love the way they've been drafting, I believe that over the next couple of years, they're going to have to part ways with a couple of players, or not bring back a couple of players, and replace those players by bigger players. Nick Suzuki's not small, and he does play big, but the fact remains he's 5'11". Alex Newhook is 5'11". RV Pinard is 5'9". Gallagher is 5'9". Lane Hudson is 5'9". Cole Caulfield is probably about 5'7". List goes on and on. Would you put a quota on the amount of players under 6 feet and surround the other players by bigger players?
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. You can't have too many small players. You can't. Not in the NHL, but like we just saw that in the playoff. If you're big and strong, that's going to help. But, you can surround those guys by bigger guys, but you can't have too many small players on your team. Absolutely not, if you want to win the Stanley Cup.
I'm going to put you on the spot here and ending, but you're a big boy, and I know you could take it. When all is said and done, I'm going to talk to you about 4 or 5 players and ask you for a projection.
Yeah.
What kind of player do you think Slavkowski will be, if you want to put some numbers on it, or a comparable?
Top line player, not the top 6. Top line player. I think going to be able to have something like 35 goals, around 90 points.
90 points. Wow.
One day.
Nick Suzuki.
Nick Suzuki would be around 80 to 85 points.
Number 1 center for sure in your book?
I had a debate with that, Tony. I had him like a second line center. Right now with the Canadiens, he's a top line center.
Yeah, but a point per game can put you in the category of a top line center. Yeah. But for sure, if one day he would be a number 2, then the Canadiens today, they would be, as we say en bon français, en voiture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kirby Dach.
It's a mystery for me.
Okay.
He has all the tools to become a second-line player and to be able to have a lot of success in NHL points-wise. It's just a question, does it going to stay healthy? It's only that.
Cole Caulfield.
Cole Caulfield, I will say around 30 to 40 goal scorer, 35 to 40 goal scorer. I don't think he's going to get to 50.
Ivan Demidov.
I think he's going to be a star.
The best pure talent out of all the Canadiens players?
Yes. That's what I think, Tony.
Lane Hudson.
It depends how offensively good he's going to be. To be that size, you have to be able to produce in the NHL to be successful. Because if he doesn't produce offensively, it's going to be tough for him to have success because defensively it's going to be all the time tough because of his size. But if you can put points on the board, he can be a top 3 defenseman.
We can play this game until we're blue in the face, but I'll ask you 2 or 3 more, okay? Logan Mailloux.
I love his upside. I think his upside is great. He has things to improve defensively. He will improve, going to gain in maturity. But he's a great skater for his size. Got a hell of a shot, and he can play physical. He's got the size too. He's a top defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. He's a top defenseman.
Caden Gooley.
Well, he's the best all-around defenseman the Canadiens are going to have. Like, you can play him 30 minutes a game in all situations. He's going to be the best one they have in all situations. Is Caden Gooley.
What can you tell us about goalie Jacob Fowler?
I don't know him very well, to be honest with you.
Okay,
I've just heard a lot of good things, many good things about him, but I don't know him very well, Tony.
Listen, I can understand that. All right, last one. Knowing Trevor Zegras as well as you do, those players that we just talked about, if Anaheim would want to have any one of those players for Trevor Zegras, should the Canadiens be interested?
I will say yes, because I know that Zegras, he likes to put on a show on the ice, and he's very spectacular with the puck, but he's a very good player. A lot of talent. He's going to gain in maturity. He's a young player, young player.
But if we both agree that Martin Madden knows a thing or two about hockey, and we believe very much in the brain trust of Anaheim, why would they want to trade a terrific talent like that?
I'm not sure they want to trade him, Tony.
Oh.
I think they want to keep him.
Oh.
I really think they want to keep him. You're going to play him on the side.
So why has his name been out there? Because usually in this game,
absolutely.
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Because, they have Cutter Gauthier now. Let me think about drafting with the needs. The Ducks have drafted many defensemen, and they had a chance to move one of them, Jimmy Drysdale, to get one of the best players outside of the NHL in Cutter Gauthier. And maybe Zegras will end up on the side, Cutter Gauthier being a center. So they have some possibilities that they can, but I have the impression they want to keep him.
Wow. If there's one player, I keep on saying it's the last question, but this will be the last one. If there's one player that you take a look at in the National Hockey League, and without stating the obvious of a superstar, that you think, should he be available, could really be a good fit on the Montreal Canadiens, a player that could be tradable, not named Trevor Zegras. Is there a name that pops to your head?
I think it's the same name that you guys mentioned many times in Nachas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the guy who probably would help Montreal Canadiens. That's a player who's got size, who's not afraid to go in a corner along the walls, and who has also a high skill level and a great skater.
I have the privilege of working with Alain Chainey at TVA Sports. Mind you, we're not part of the same broadcast because you can hear Alain, of course, on some of the games on TVA Sport as a color commentator alongside the great Félix Séguin as well, and others. I'm part of Jean-Charles Lajoie's show JC at TVA Sport, but Alain and I cross each other in the hallway every now and then, when I see that he's sitting down in one of those lazy boys or one of those chairs, I pull up the chair next to him because I love to talk hockey with him. I love to pick his brain because he's been around. He's seen it all. He knows a lot, and he is a walking encyclopedia. Alain, I very much enjoyed having you on the Sick Podcast. for the first time, and I hope it's not going to be the last. Thank you so much for your expertise this evening.
Thanks for having me here, Tony. Thanks very much.
All right, there you have it. The great Alain Chainey. Special thanks, of course, to Energy Transportation Group, to Bittt, to Tibi, to Playground, and to Betway. If you like it, comment sick, share with your friends. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love for Shane Gamo on Master Control. It's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.